I've been to my fair share of academic conferences, and there's some parts about academic conferences that people are getting just all wrong. So today we are discussing the most common misconceptions that I've heard about academic conferences and what the truth really is. And the first misconception, or the first thing that people get all wrong about academic conferences, is that your presentation has to be prolific or the smartest thing that has ever been presented. That's just wrong. Because when it comes down to it, an academic conference is really about growing, learning, and expanding your understanding of the field or the discipline. And so when you are presenting at an academic conference, it's not about being perfect, and it's not about being the smartest in the room. It is about you as an academic or as a junior scholar working towards gaining professionalization skills like public speaking, like critical thinking, answering questions, communication, but it's also about just practicing talking about your research. And so while there can be a lot of pressure to present the world's most perfect and pristine presentation that has ever existed, when it comes down to it, when you are presenting at an academic conference, it is more like a workshop or a space to exercise or see or try out your ideas versus presenting a perfect polished piece. So it's important just to have that realization or that understanding when you are approaching your academic conference presentation. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to try. The next common misconception or thing that people get all wrong about academic conferences is that to be a successful graduate student, you have to attend and present at a ton of them. And that's also wrong. And it comes down to just the mere facts of feasibility. When you are a graduate student, you are expected to juggle classes, work, maybe teaching, doing your research. And so with all of those things coming together, you may not just have time to go and leisurely attend conferences and take out a week out of your class or 4 days out of your workday to go to a conference. And while there might feel like other people are doing it all the time, it does come with diminishing returns. While it is important to have conference experience on your CV and just in your back pocket, after a certain amount of conferences, the job market or grants kind of get the point that you can be accepted into a conference. And so I think having maybe one conference every year or even one conference every 2 years, depending on how long your conference is or how long your graduate process is totally reasonable. So instead of trying to stress yourself out and do 3 to 4 conferences every year, try to give yourself a little bit of lee room and leave it to just maybe one conference a year or one conference every other year to create some balance, which directly connects to the next misconception or thing that people get all wrong. And it's thinking that academic conferences are accessible. Honestly, academic conferences can be quite expensive. And pre-COVID, even when they were affordable, if they were not near you or at your institution or your university, all of your expenses will quickly build up. You would be expected to pay for your admissions, your membership, your lodging, your travel, food. And after time, all of those expenses can ultimately end up being anywhere from hundreds to thousands of dollars. So it's important to know that even though we are expected to attend academic conferences as graduate students, if you do not have financial support or funding or support from your grad division or department for you to travel, it becomes increasingly more difficult to present and attend conferences as a graduate student. So while there are some discounts that you can get and ways that you can volunteer, it's important that if you do not have those financial resources to attend academic conferences, it is important to try and find external funding or funding from other locations to make sure that you can go. But again, just being aware that it's not as simple as submitting your abstract, getting accepted, and going. That there is a financial and, depending on your own circumstances, even a physical barrier to get you to some conferences. Another misconception or things that people get wrong about academic conferences is that they are boring. I have talked about this in a past video, and I also have a video vlog about me at an academic conference. So if either one of those videos interest you, they'll be at the end screen. But in these videos, I talk about just just how much fun I have when I am attending academic conferences. So many academic conferences, depending on your discipline, your personal interests, or where they are located, have so many things that you can participate in. If you are going to a larger academic conferences, there may be events, plays, performances. Almost every academic conference has happy hours or food or luncheons. If you're going to one that has a lot of money or is in a really cool location, there may be even special festivities like field trips. And so again, while it does depend on what you enjoy doing, when it comes down to it, when you are looking at which academic conferences you want to present at or you want to attend, seeing what's on the itinerary, even if it's just the itinerary of past academic conferences in that organization, can help you see, will you think it's fun? And the next one would be that people often think that academic conferences are just cutthroat. Now, this may vary from discipline to discipline or organization to organization, but generally I would say when you are going to an academic conference, just like I said earlier, everybody is there to grow and learn with each other. And so for the most part, people are not coming to these presentations or these sessions to break down people or to attack them or make them feel dumb. Instead, they're interested in participating in academic discourse or dialogue. And so it's important to remember that as the presenter, when you are having these conversations, that people are actually just really interested in what you have to say. Now, this doesn't mean that there aren't going to be some questions that seem a little, very long, like they're trying to be a low-key presenter even though they're in the audience, or some questions that just all around don't make sense. Those things will definitely happen, but I don't think they're happening in a way to make you look dumb. On the flip side, I also think your fellow panelists or other presenters across the organization's conference is there to make you look dumb or to prove they're better than you. Now again, while some disciplines may be more competitive than others, generally if you got accepted into a conference presentation and people are there, they're really just interested in learning from you and your content. Now, I also think if you are going to an academic conference, especially with friends or an academic advisor or a faculty mentor, it's even less likely that you will have to deal with those things because you also have a community and a support group there to support you, even if that academic discipline or conference that you are at particularly happens to be cutthroat. But generally, I don't think it's something that you should stress yourself out of. And if it is an academic conference that has that reputation, I would actually just encourage you to avoid it if you can. Now, just because you just heard a list of misconceptions doesn't mean you may feel confident in knowing what it is like at an academic conference. But don't worry, I have the perfect video for you. If you're interested in seeing what an academic conference can be like, I would check out my past video. If you are somebody who's interested in trying to understand why academic conferences even matter, I would check out my other video. If you found at least 2 things useful, definitely hit a thumbs up so YouTube can share this video with others that may need it. And as always, your support helps a small YouTuber like me continue to grow. So I want to thank you so much for your support and for watching, and I will see you next week.